Rising cyber threats. The UK government's vulnerability has been exposed. We're going to read into this more from Byline Times, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from Byline Times with the headline that the rising cyber threats to UK's government's vulnerability has been exposed. Underinvestment has left Parliament, the Electoral Commission and the British Library open to attack from China, Russia and Iran. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit that like button and share it across social media so others are notified of this video. If you haven't already clocked on to the rising in cyber threats from the UK, you've been kind of living under a rock here on this channel for a while under the concern and the run-up in the last several months in the run-up to the general election. We've seen numerous reports, not just from the iPaper, from Byline Times, from other different outlets over the course of several. I would even go as far as course of maybe even a few years of increasing attacks by particularly China more than any other. In terms of cyber and security threats, and they have been left more and more weaker and weaker. And how have they been left weaker, Regan? Well, it's quite simple. When 14 years of austerity, when everything is rolled back, when you are not investing and you are cutting, which is what the Conservative government did and have done for a long period, it makes our systems weaker, more vulnerable, because over time, as time passes on, you need to upgrade your systems, upgrade your computer and all sorts. I mean, your software, your phone and your computer right here that I'm using right now. Every now and then, I will need to update the antivirus software to protect it from vulnerable viruses. The computer at some point will become insufficient and I will need a new computer. You have to keep going forward. You can't just stand still. And that's exactly what's happened when it comes to security, when it comes to cyber security in the UK. We haven't moved forward when as many other countries have, and they've kept on top of it. The Conservative government weren't investing in it. Some people may argue that they were investing in it. If they did, it wasn't nowhere near the levels that it should be, because we were consistently getting attacked. Now, of course, people will argue, well, what's Labour doing now? And that is a very good question, because we covered a story not too long ago about some of the things that Labour had done, but how much are Labour doing to improve our cyber threat? What steps are they taking to ensure that all that the likes of MI6 and other organisations out there are making sure that they are protecting Britain's national security and any and all risks from cyber threats? You know, our Electoral Commission is at risk. And we know it's at risk because there have been reports in the past of Russian interference in the EU referendum. Although many people have denied it, there has been some evidence that has supported that, which may agree to disagree on whether that evidence is sufficient or not. If I'm honest, I'm not sure how much Iran is a threat when it comes to cyber, if I'm honest on that, but perhaps maybe people know more about that than me. But Russia and China certainly have definitely been taking advantage of our weaker position in the world, that is for sure. So cyber attacks on the government departments and Parliament from malign actors in Russia, China and Iran are becoming increasingly solidified and severe. The National Audit Office warns in a report published today. Ministers are vulnerable to attacks because 58 critical IT systems in Whitehall have gaps in their cyber resistance, and another 238 legacy computer systems are operating without any security updates because manufacturers have long ceased to provide them. Geoffrey Clifton-Brown, the Tory Chair of the Committee of Public Accounts, said, "Today's NAO report must serve as a stark wake-up call to the government to get on top of this most precarious threat. We have seen too often the devastating impact of cyber attacks on our public service and people's lives. Despite the rapid evolving cyber threat, the government's response has not kept pace. Poor condition across government, a persistent shortage of cyber skills, and a dependence on outdated legacy IT systems are continuing to leave our public services exposed. The bad scenario is compounded by Whitehall not being able to recruit skills experts to combat cyber attacks, as the salaries offered to staff are below those available in the private sector. And as a result, a third of permanent posts in this field are vacant." So the fact that we do not have as many skilled experts in this field is also deeply worrying. And if we don't have any here in the UK, we should be hiring those abroad to bring in order to protect Britain's security. I think it's pretty obvious that we should be doing that. If we're not training up enough of our own here in the UK, then we need to get people who are qualified abroad to do so. Obviously, where they come from originally obviously matters as well. So the UK cybersecurity and resilience has been a strategic priority for the government for at least a decade. And in 2010, the new Tory and Liberal Democrat coalition described the national security strategy, described cyber attacks as a top threat and a priority for action. So money has been allocated, 650 initially, and another 1.9 billion from 2021. Okay, so they invested that much in 2021, the Conservatives. And a new National Cybersecurity Centre was set up. The strategy was revised in 2022. But up to 2023, extraordinary departments were left to self-certify that their computer systems were secure and information was not gathered centrally. Some even cut down on programs to improve cybersecurity to spend on other priorities. That's not very good. In March 2024, departments still did not have fully funded plans to remit around half of the government's legacy IT assets, 53% or 120 out of 228, leaving these systems increasingly vulnerable to cyber attacks. Underinvestment in technology and cybersecurity played a role in the severity of the cyber attack on the British Library. The library was subject to a ransomware attack in 2023 with a demand of 20 bitcoins or £600,000. When it was not paid, the attack released 600 gigabytes of data in the dark web, including employees' details. The site was unusable for 1 month, and it has taken 2 years to rebuild its computer system, which has yet to be completed at the cost of far in excess of £600,000. Other examples include a Chinese state-backed cyber attack on MPs' emails in Parliament, an attack revealing payroll details of 270,000 serving armed forces, including names and bank details, and a Chinese state-sponsored attack on the Electoral Commission, obtaining details of people on the electoral register, which is thought to have been useful to the Chinese intelligence service. The NAO is calling for urgent action to tackle the weakness in the system. Gareth Davis, head of the NAO, said, to avoid serious incidences, build resilience, and protect the value for money of its operations, the government must catch up with the acute cyber threats it faces. The government will continue to find it difficult to catch up until it's successfully addressing the long-standing shortage of cyber skills. It's strengthening accountability for cyber risk and better managing the risks posed by legacy IT. And the government spokesperson now told Byline Times that many of the NAO's findings mirror the government's own findings in the State of Digital Government review published last week. Since July, we have taken action to repair cyber defence neglected by successive governments, introducing new legislation to give us powers to protect criminal national infrastructure from cyber attacks, delivering 30 new regional cyber skill projects to strengthen the country's digital workforce, and merging digital teams into one central government digital service led by the Department of Science, Innovation and Technology. And last week we went further, announcing plans to upgrade technology across government, both strengthening our defence against attack and transforming public service as part of our plan for change. Well, I will say that sounds good on paper, but is it enough? If over the next couple of years that there are attacks and they prove to be unsuccessful, or if you don't hear anything about this over the next 4 years in terms of actual attacks on government infrastructure, like you might hear the minor things, but if you don't hear much, then that means that the government is doing its job. Because normally you're not supposed to hear about. There are some things that the public aren't supposed to be aware of, they aren't supposed to know about. And there actually may have been more cyber attacks than we know of that haven't been made public. My hope is that we don't hear too much about cyber threats, and that we actually just, in the end, it's the government that have got on a grip on this, and that they've taken the actions that they said in the spokesperson. They're actually taking action on this, and they're doing everything that they need to protect the national security reasons. So if over the next several years we don't hear anything, then it's a sign that the government are taking the necessary steps in doing so. However, if we continue to hear about potential threats on a basis, I wouldn't say on a daily basis, but probably on every couple of months, if we hear something, then maybe there is a cause for concern about what are the Labour government doing about it if something like this if these continue to happen. But what do you guys honestly think? What do you think about the Labour government's approach to this? What do you guys make of the report? Do you agree with me that perhaps maybe Labour are going to get on top of it? Maybe they will not. How do you feel about the cyber threats that are coming to the United Kingdom as a whole, to its government, to our national infrastructure? Let me know your thoughts and more on this story down in the comment section below. Now, if you found this video informative or helpful to you, please hit that like button, be greatly appreciated, and share it across social media so others are notified of this video. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further and financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or you can even join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.